We got Ross in the queue, so let's bring him on after a reminder that Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money is available. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool bringing you your entire financial life in one place. It is easy to use, and you can use it on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data, visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, so you're finally feeling in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let the financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That is 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using promo code LOCKEDONNFL.
Let's talk to Ross Tucker is with us. I think there he is. Ross, what's going on? Hey, Ross, I'm sure everybody in England right now is excited for this very exciting matchup between Carson Wentz and Dillon Gabriel. We've been waiting years for this primetime matchup, no?
Well, listen, I mean, first of all, what I love about the folks over there, I don't know how many people watching right now are going over, but I've called a couple games over there on the radio. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine going to a stadium, okay, and almost every single person has a jersey, but it's of every different team in the NFL.
Right.
It's like a kaleidoscope of colors. It's like a football festival. So if you love and cherish American football like I do, it warms my heart to see all these folks from all over Europe. I mean, they come in from Germany and Ireland and everywhere to come to the UK for these games to celebrate their love for American football. It makes me very, very happy. Carson Wentz looks like he's one of them. I mean, Carson Wentz looks like he's from Ireland or from the UK. And I think Dillon Gabriel starting this game really just adds to the intrigue. Now, were there some people that probably would have thought it would be cool to see Joe Flacco and Super Bowl quarterback and all that, but maybe. But I think, I don't know about you guys, I get excited anytime a guy gets his first start in the NFL. In particular, a quarterback, in particular, a rookie. You know, who knows? I mean, maybe Dillon Gabriel is going to end up being a top 10 guy. Maybe he's the Browns' answer. I have no idea, but it's the unknown, I think, that's really compelling.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. You could go back and be like, when was like Russell Wilson's first start? When was Brock Purdy's first start? Like guys that you didn't necessarily think were going to become really household names. Dak Prescott, sure, another one. And here we are with Gabriel. It's like, I guess the question I have for you, Ross, is this the right week to do it? You know, with it being a London week, the travel. I've never made this trip. I've never played overseas. I'm not sure if you have, but you've done it with your travel now, doing it in broadcasting. It's a lot, I'm sure. Is this the right week to do it?
Well, so the only international game I ever played was 2002 preseason. We played the Niners in Osaka, Japan.
Wow.
That was far.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, to go to the UK is like 6 or 7 hours. Japan was like 20 hours. I mean, that was craziness that we did that. You know, I think it's more about the Vikings defense, Dustin. I think it's more about what they bring to the table with Brian Flores, who's got arguably the most complex and unique blitz scheme, blitz package in the NFL. That's the thing that gives me a little bit of pause and a little bit of hesitation. The flip side, though, is when you really go through it, would next week at Pittsburgh be that much better? You know, I mean, you can play this game forever. There's probably never like an ideal week. I mean, maybe a couple weeks later when they played the Dolphins at home, that would have been a safer landing spot. But what happens if they win this week with Flacco? Then he's probably in there for a couple more weeks. So I think there's pros and cons of both. The reality is they've resigned themselves to the fact that they're probably not going to the playoffs. So as soon as you know that, why not evaluate Dillon Gabriel as soon as you can for as long as you can, especially considering there's still a chance by the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they evaluate Shedeur Sanders for a few games. So I think it was fine to peel the Band-Aid now, because if they went over to London and Flacco got him a win against the Vikings, then you'd probably leave him in for a couple more weeks again, and I don't think they wanted that.
Ross, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I said I think that they will have a different game plan, you may see 3 different game plans between what they run specifically with Flacco, with Dillon Gabriel, or with Shedeur Sanders. I think that they do have some other things that they can do with the playbook now with a little more mobile quarterback. Do you think you'll see a few new wrinkles in terms of schematically from Kevin Stefanski with Dillon Gabriel under center?
1,000%. Number one, I can tell you right now, you're going to see more boots to the left than you've seen. I mean, he's a lefty. I called that preseason game Browns-Eagles, and that's what he does really well. He throws well on the move. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. I think you're going to see a lot of quick underneath passing, which is smart, but also the Vikings aren't stupid. They know that that's what they're going to do. So would I be surprised if Dillon Gabriel had a pick 6 in this game? Definitely not, because he's going to be trying to get it out quick with timing and rhythm. The Vikings are going to know that. They're going to try to jump some of these underneath routes. They better bake in a double move early. Otherwise, Isaiah Rodgers or one of these guys is going to take it the other way for a touchdown. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and get the ball out of Gabriel's hands quickly. They're going to see if they can run it. You'll see a bunch of boot action, especially booting out to the left because that's somewhat unique. But again, Flores is no dummy. So when he boots out to the left, you would think the edge guy on that side is going to be going upfield and be right in his face. That's what I would tell him to do. I would tell him any run away, I want you to go directly for the quarterback and anticipate that it's boot coming back this way to the left.
Ross, is Brian Flores happy that the Browns changed quarterbacks or no?
That's a great question, Bull.
Thank you.
Fantastic question.
I think he probably has mixed emotions.
Okay.
I think on the one hand, I think he probably likes that it's a rookie quarterback who hasn't seen a lot of the stuff he's going to throw at him, as opposed to Flacco, who has seen anything and everything that could ever be out there. So on the one hand, he probably likes it. On the other hand, coaches really don't like the unknown, and all this did was give him more work. If he's over there in UK, now he's got to do more work. He's got to go back, watch Gabriel in the preseason, maybe even a couple of Oregon games. Certainly, that last drive he had against the Ravens a couple weeks ago and the game I did for CBS, he'll watch all of that. But there's also still the unknown of exactly how Stefanski will use him, and that annoys coaches because they feel like they can't properly prepare for the unknown. They start chasing ghosts a little bit. So I would say he definitively has mixed emotions.
I have
go
some
ahead.
stats real quick on Flores versus rookie quarterbacks. This is going to be one of my 5 stats for Friday, but I'll give you a little teaser. Since 2019, when Flores took over as the head coach in Miami, he is 9-1 straight up against rookie quarterbacks, 6-2 against the spread and 1 push. Rookie quarterbacks against Flores have a negative 0.158 EPA per dropback, which is in the 32nd percentile, and those teams average just 16.3 points per game. So he's been historically
Done a good job.
really darn good against rookie quarterbacks. So
Why do you
just
think
something to
that
keep in
is,
mind.
Ross? Why has he had so much success against rookies, you think?
Because what's crazy is, I don't know if this was the same last year, but I talk with this every Thursday on the Ross Tucker podcast with Greg Cosell. Last year, he brought more blitzes of 6 or more than any other team in the NFL. He also dropped 8 and only rushed 3 more than any other team in the NFL. So think about that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so most people, they're rushing 4. If they blitz, they bring a 5th guy, right? Every once in a while, they'll do a cover 0 or whatever. Flores, he's kind of feast or famine, and I like it in the sense that those are very, very different, and just by the very nature that he's first in both categories, the quarterbacks don't see it at all. They don't see 8 guys dropping into coverage, nowhere to go with the ball that much. They don't see, oh man, I got an all-out blitz, I got to get rid of it right now that often. And by the way, he does a pretty good job of disguising which one of those 2 it's going to be. So you might think pre-snap, here comes the cover 0 all-out blitz, and meanwhile they drop 8, and vice versa. So I just think it rattles quarterbacks. I think a rookie quarterback, I think they're not used to it, and I don't think scout teams do a very good job of properly preparing them for it. And I think that that's going to be a struggle for Dillon Gabriel. I will say this, though. There's going to be rookie growing pains for him. I think there's something to be said for getting him out of the way. You know, like, okay, it's not a hostile crowd. It's not going to be loud, cheering against the Browns. So communication will be okay. He's going to learn some hard lessons, but let's get these lessons out of the way so he can come back and maybe win in Pittsburgh and certainly hopefully win against the Dolphins at home.
Ross, we talked about it a little bit earlier. We said, hey, the news is that Shedeur Sanders is going to be still the emergency quarterback. Flacco will be the backup quarterback. And me and Dustin said that was kind of predictable. Can you kind of walk the audience through some of the responsibilities that backup quarterbacks have on game day? Because people think like, oh, well, why wouldn't Shedeur be the backup quarterback? And we're like, well, there's a whole set of processes that they want him, and I think they really want Joe to still be engaged in helping Dillon. So can you kind of explain what the process is that when you are a backup quarterback as a veteran, what are some things that they are tasked with doing with younger guys that are starters?
Well, here's the biggest thing in my mind, right? There was all those garbage articles during the summer and preseason games about, the Browns setting up Shedeur Sanders to fail, which is comical. They're the team that drafted him. Like, what are we even talking about? You think they drafted him and set him up to fail? That's ridiculous. But I think that they recognize if they made him the number 2 quarterback, then they would be setting him up to fail. Because, as you guys know, the number 2 quarterback gets almost no reps during the week. And that's especially the case if the starter is a rookie. They're trying to get Dillon Gabriel prepared to play in the game. They're trying to have him see every rep and every look he's going to see during the week of practice this week. So the backup has to be a guy that can function with 0 reps. That does not appear to be the case with Shedeur Sanders right now. Flacco's been doing this forever. He started the first 4 games. If he has to go in there, he'll be fine. I think if something happened to Gabriel and you put Shedeur in, it could be ugly, like real bad. If he had to go out there against Flores' defense with 0 reps during the week, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they feel Shedeur is comfortable enough to be the number 2 guy. But they also might not. They also might think that's a bad spot to put him in. Let's roll with Gabriel as long as Gabriel's playing well or they want to see what he's doing. And then there could be absolutely a scenario where they leapfrog Shedeur up to number 1. He goes from number 3 to number 1, and then maybe Gabriel's 2 or Flacco 2 at that point. I don't know. But that's very possible given the difference between starter reps and backup reps. They might not want to have Shedeur have a chance to play until he's actually the starter getting all the reps during the week.
Makes sense.
Ross, the Ravens are 1-3. Lamar tweaked his hamstring. Not sure how serious it is or if he would have come back in the game. They said maybe he would have had it not been a blowout. But, their schedule's still favorable the next 5-6 weeks. But I worry about Lamar's hamstring and I also worry about that defense. Like, do you think the Ravens are cooked or is the playoff still on the table?
If Lamar was healthy, I would tell you I think that the Ravens are still the class of the AFC North, and I'd be surprised if they don't win the division. With him being out 2 or 3 weeks, like to me, that's the difference between them beating the Houston Texans or not. With Lamar, they beat the Houston Texans. Without Lamar, they probably don't beat the Houston Texans on Sunday. It's a big difference. Yep. That's a huge difference. And so now I think it'll come down to the very end. Depending on how long Lamar's out, I still think the Steelers are probably a 10-win team. I think the Ravens probably are too. So I think both those teams will be in the 9 to 11 win neighborhood would be my guess as we get to week 17 and 18. Wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens still win the division. I think they're the best team, but they're certainly not playing like it, and the Lamar injury complicates things. I'll tell you what else. To lose Matabike for the season I can't remember the last time a team won a Super Bowl without their best defensive lineman. So to me, that almost automatically eliminates the Niners and the Ravens. You can get by with injuries at certain positions, but your best. So I think D line is the second most important position in the sport, and your best D lineman. That's not like. Can you imagine the Browns without Myles Garrett? I mean, just forget. Just
end the season. 0-17.
Yeah.
Oh, don't let people into the stadium. Like, just finish. It's over. Forget it. Forget the defense. Like, you cannot lose that guy, especially when they're a really high-end guy.
Ross, I want to talk about offensive line play in the league right now because obviously the last few years it seems to be slowly trending where obviously offense was on the rise, passing yards was through the roof. Offense was huge. And in the last couple of years, it's going kind of the other way. Now, obviously, some of it is because you have safeties playing deeper, and that's a big part of it. But I think, at least, just from watching games, that offensive line, like the defensive lines have, no offense to you and your fellow offensive linemen, but I think defensive linemen have become too athletic for a lot of offensive linemen to handle. And I think we're seeing quarterbacks just getting killed. And we're seeing a lot of injuries. Is there a problem with offensive line play, or am I making something out of nothing?
So I'll tell you what I think the problem is.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem is offensive line depth around the NFL. And you guys have experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
At the offensive tackle position. I think for the most part, offensive line play is fine across the league. Now, it's never going to be what you want it to be in September because these guys don't play in the preseason games, and they don't play with each other. So whereas that was when we got our reps in back in the day, when I was starting at center for the Browns in between Kosi Coleman and Joe Andruzzi in the glorious 05 preseason, we used to get our reps together. That's when you communicate. It's when you do the things.
Yeah.
Now, those guys don't play much in the preseason.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it for the starters. So they're feeling that out. But then when there's injuries and the backups go in, here's the big difference. D-line, and you see this in the preseason games too, D-lines rotate. Yeah. D-lines play 8 to 10 guys, okay? Offensive lines do not rotate. So not only, it's not a fatigue thing, it's D-lines usually have 6 to 8 guys that can really play. O-lines, you're lucky. I mean, usually the 6th guy, like a Cornelius Lucas, is pretty good, right? But then you get to the 7th guy or the 8th guy, you start to have major issues, and they don't get nearly the same amount of reps as the guys they're going against. So they're going out there having not played at all in the first 3 games or 5 games or whatever, and now they're going against D linemen, all of whom get 20-plus snaps a game. To me, it's a big, big difference.
You think the league is going to – I mean – they've made all these rules to try to protect the quarterbacks, and yet quarterbacks are still getting hurt, right? I guess there's really nothing they could do further. I mean, I don't know what else you'd do, right?
Well, whatever they can do, they're going to try.
Yeah, that's
I can
true.
assure you of that. Just watch the Monday night game between the Broncos and the Bengals. Nobody wants to watch that.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was a blowout, right? I mean, I know, Bull, you grew up a Bengals fan or whatever. If Burrow's playing – that is a totally different game. Yeah. We're all tweeting about it. We're all talking about it. We're all enjoying it. Yeah. Instead, it was a blowout that you stop watching in the third quarter, and that's because Burrow wasn't out there. So from a business standpoint, and the owners know this, they have got to do whatever they can within reason to keep those guys healthy.
Does that include red jerseys in regular season NFL games, Ross?
There you go. Yeah, give him that look. Come on.
Hey, they said you do everything.
Give him that look.
Well, no.
Will flag football for quarterbacks?
It does not include that.
We can't go that far.
I think we would riot if that happened. But it's also on some level on these coaches to help these guys get rid of the ball quick, faster. That's the difference between college and the NFL. It just doesn't seem like these guys come into the league, the quarterbacks, as quick-minded, I think is the best way to describe it, as they used to be. And so now they're trying to read things out and go through their progressions. Their progression in college is like quick screen or fade. You know, like
Yeah.
that's the progression in college. Then they get to the NFL, it's like, holy cow, 1 to 2 to dead.
Ross, the NFL is becoming unwatchable to me, and let me explain why. There's a flag on every play.
Awful.
Every play. I don't know if it's because we've got such great athletic quarterbacks now that can get outside the pocket, where linemen end up getting more holding calls, more guys down the field with the RPOs. I don't know what it is, brother, but it's unwatchable to be able to watch. Like, you see a big play, and you can't even enjoy it.
You're looking for the flag on every play.
You can't even enjoy it. Thoughts?
Huge pet peeve of mine. You're 1,000% correct. Now, listen, a lot of those are pre-snap penalties. Last year, they had over 6 pre-snap penalties per game. That was the most since 2007. So part of that is the amount of information the coaches are trying to glean before the snap with different formations, different motions. So that's part of it. The second part of it is they don't play in the preseason. So, you know, they're going to have issues with certain looks. They're going to end up holding or whatever because they haven't gotten that out of their system in the preseason. I'm hopeful, Dustin, that it's better, you know, October, November, December, certainly, than it was in September. That's obviously the goal and the hope. I also think, you know, the officials could do a better job. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If I were the commissioner for a day, my number one thing would be, when in doubt, don't throw it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when in doubt, don't throw the flag. You know, what they've been tasked with is it's clear and obvious, but these guys call things that are not clear and obvious. And so it goes to the league office to not downgrade them for those things and to really get to the point where if you're not sure, don't throw the flag, because we don't need to be throwing the flag for these things that have nothing to do with the play.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of a bunch of things, but you're right. There's too many penalties. It's nobody who likes flags. Nnobody. Literally nobody.
And the
it's
last
like ties.
last thing
Nobody
I'd
likes
say,
ties. Nobody likes flags.
Yeah.
Agreed. Last thing I'd say is, like, if it doesn't involve the play specifically, it's keep the flag in your pocket.
Unless it's a personal foul type of stuff.
Okay, that's an egregious penalty. That's crossed the line. But I'm saying, like, if there's an illegal contact on the far side of the field and we're running like a screen out of the backfield or something, it's like, well, that has nothing to do with this play.
Well, how about the illegal formation that they call? I mean, those are all so stupid. What is the point of those?
I just think if it doesn't directly affect the play, like, let's just have a little bit of like we don't have to be like letter of the law all the time. I don't know. It's like, you know, they don't pull you over for speeding when you're going 66 into 65, do they?
Right. No.
They could, but they don't have to. And they don't.
Sometimes they do.
All right. Sorry, Ross. That was my rant.
All right, Ross.
No, that's okay.
Who wins the Browns-Vikings game this week? Who you got?
I'll go Vikings. I don't know the advantage. I guess there's an advantage to being over there in the UK, although I'd probably be going out every night, but I don't know. I'll say the Vikings win.
Thanks, Ross. Good stuff. Everybody check out the Ross Tucker podcast, especially with Greg Cosell. Those are always great breakdowns with Greg. You get the true film breakdowns with Greg, which are awesome. So thanks, Ross. All right, Mike, what do you got?